Okay, well, welcome back to the HR Game School Community weekly live call, our Wednesday morning drive to work, Wednesday live Zoom call for the community. Welcome back. It's good to see you. And we had a very nice webinar last week, so that was great. My first question is there any community questions?
Yes. So two questions. First, no, there's one question actually. If you know anything about the HR Expo and how that it's gonna go, and if there is any information that we should know that we should be aware of.
I mean, if you're going, you will probably get an email telling you all the information. It's my first time there. I don't have more information than whatever they are providing. I follow a lot of people on Instagram. I know a lot of people are going. So I'm looking forward to meeting a bunch of people. I know already Frankie. Frankie Loves HVAC will be there. So I'm looking to meet up with him. Holden from HVAC Time will be there. I'm hoping to see him. I know HVAC Know It All is there. HVAC Slayer will be there. So those are all the people that I know of off the top of my head. I think also the guy from Commercial Kitchen Appliance, he's going to be there, which I'm looking forward to seeing him. Then I have another guy that I'm following. His name is Sean. Well, Mike. He's actually also in the community. I haven't seen him active in a while, but he will be there. I hope I can see him there. But I thought it was kind of funny because Holden, he's from Austin, Texas. And we met like over a year and a half ago. And now we're going to all the way out of state to Florida. And then we'll hopefully see each other again. I thought it was kind of funny. But no, I don't have more information than what is provided in the emails.
Okay, well that's all that I have. I didn't know if there was anything that we should be aware of or anything we look forward to. That's all. That was my question, but that's good. Okay, that's
Yeah,
all.
one thing I can recommend going on conventions is get a map and get a schedule of the different talks and kind of plan out where you're trying to go, what stands or booths you're trying to attend, what lectures you're interested in, and kind of draw yourself a little schedule so you know ahead of the time where you're supposed to be and the layout. So you're not caught flat footed when you're there and then you have to try and figure everything out. That's one tip. The other tip is don't cram everything very tight because one of the great opportunities of those kind of conventions, or I mean, it's called AHR Expo, is the ability to network and meet people. I know there is going to be a podcast place, which I am looking to hopefully get an episode with somebody in there. I don't have a podcast myself, but there are several people that have podcasts. I'm interested to share knowledge, so maybe there's something that I can do there. Oh yeah, another guy that will be there is Trades Over College. I'm looking to meet up with him. That would be awesome. So that's some of the tips that I could give.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good to know. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, so the things that I wanted to cover is one, because of your guys's and the community feedback, I posted the replay of the electrical troubleshooting webinar, and I hope you all get to watch it and you like it, and it's awesome. If there's anything that you think can be improved, please let me know, because I'm also planning to have another live webinar on the same topic on February 22nd, which is Saturday, also at the well, last time we did it at 10, but I got some feedback saying that 11 might work better. So we'll do it on Saturday, February 22nd at 11 a.m. I will put the event in the calendar and create the sign up form so you can register and I can send you the invitation and the link and everything.
Okay, good. We'll be looking forward for that too.
Yes. And yeah, because people liked it, I'm also trying to figure out how to have monthly recurring webinars on different topics. Maybe I can do some, maybe I can bring in some other experts from different places that can do specific subjects. Maybe we can do like shorter webinars. I was thinking maybe we can do one specifically explaining superheat and subcool, because that is something that I know that I struggled with for a long time, really understanding what it is about and how to calculate it and what it tells me, and on which systems to measure heat, subcool and superheat, because there's a difference where you measure what. So that is one of the subjects that I'm thinking about doing. But anyways, that's something I wanted to bring up. On another note, I also am planning to have a in-person meetup. I was going to do it in the end of February, but with the AHR Expo and other things that are going on right now, the end of February is probably a little bit too soon. So I'm actually rescheduling for the beginning. Wow. Okay, there we go. I am rescheduling for the beginning of March, and I want to do it in the north of San Antonio. So some of the Austin techs can be going as well, and it's not like a 2-hour drive. So I'm gonna look for a restaurant. It's probably gonna be like a Tex-Mex restaurant or something. So we can just meet up and talk shop. We can figure out what we want those meetups to be about. But I'll be posting it in the community and sharing the date and everything. So I just wanted to throw it out here that it is going to happen. And if you are from San Antonio, San Marcos, Austin, surrounding area, even if you want to come from Houston, I mean, it's a little bit far away, but if you want to hang out, we're going to do it on a Saturday. I'm thinking maybe somewhere in the afternoon, just like a few hours. We can get to know each other, talk shop, see what the other people need, and maybe help each other out to become better technicians. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Sorry. Yes, that's correct.
It's okay, no worries.
Yes.
I'll just keep monologuing. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, that's all on events and stuff like that. And then I wanted to take up, it might sound like a weird subject, but I wanted to take up the subject that some calls are stupid. Some calls might be stupid. And I'm just saying this because this heating season, I had 3 calls where there were no heat calls. And I went there. I looked around, the thermostat said it was in heating mode. I went to the unit, and the first thing that I usually check is if my heating call is arriving at my board. And the first thing that I found is that the white wire was not connected to the W1 terminal. Well, the color really doesn't matter, but the wire that was supposed to be connected to the W1, which is your heating terminal on the board, was not connected. And that's literally the only problem there was. And I always am suspicious because I come from a maintenance background, and sometimes there is a thing where if you don't have a part and you don't want the system to do something specific, especially on heating, you sometimes disconnect the heating call while you're waiting for the part to ensure that the equipment is not running and doing something that you don't want it to do. Coming from the maintenance background, I always get suspicious when I see wires disconnected because I always attribute it to something being intentional. And I have found, being more on the service side of things, that most of the time that's actually not the case. In all of those 3 scenarios, the problem was an install. In 2 of them, they had new units installed and the heating was not hooked up. It was not tested. It was not commissioned. So when I connected the wire, I had to commission the unit because there was a new unit. On the 3rd call, the problem was they had replaced the thermostat. I don't understand why they wouldn't have connected the W1 terminal to the white wire in the unit. Maybe they were afraid because it was a gas heating Maybe they were afraid of liability because they did it in-house. I don't know. But that's just something to keep in mind, that some things are literally that simple. I always try to go, when I'm troubleshooting, from more simple to more complex. I always look for the more obvious thing, like no power, no fuel, no lubrication, no airflow. Those are the main problems that I usually look for. And when those don't lead me to a conclusion, I go and I dig deeper. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to bring up because I see it frequently, and sometimes, especially me, when I started out, I was like, oh, it has to be something super like in depth. I have to spend hours troubleshooting to find it. Literally, that's not the case. Sometimes it takes you 5 minutes to troubleshoot something, and you're on to the next call. So just make sure when you find those things, you test the unit, you make sure the heating is running, you take your measurements on supply air, return air, your outside air, you check your amps, make sure that everything is good. You watch the unit for a little bit operating to ensure that the unit is running and there's not something that's going to cause a problem down the line, especially on the heating side of things. That is one thing I wanted to take up. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I can go a little bit deeper.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
All right. And as the last subject, I wanted to bring up something that I was actually not aware for a long time. And that is that you can test compressors that are going bad, but that are not bad electrically and that have the correct charge. And what reminded me of that is a recent call where we replaced several components. We charged the unit. I mean, we obviously did the full procedure. We braced, the components in. We pressure tested, we evacuated the system, we charged the system to manufacturer specification. After we turned the unit on, it wasn't really cooling. It was sort of cooling, but it wasn't really cooling. It seemed like everything was running though. The condenser fans were running, the evaporator fans were running, the compressor was running. We were getting amps draw on the compressor. We also took measurements of the compressor electrically. We ohmed it out. There was nothing that indicated there was anything wrong with it. We did have amps draw that was a little bit below the RLA, which is your run load amps, but there was nothing that really indicated that anything was bad on the system itself. However, our pressures were kind of weird. They were not out of range necessarily, but we had high superheat measurements. And it didn't make sense because we charged it to manufacturer specification. So what we did to isolate the issue, because we're like, okay, like it's all running, like why are we not removing heat? Because that was the main thing. We weren't removing heat. The space temperature dropped maybe like 8 degrees in 1 hour, which is very, very little because it was a small space and it was an adequately sized unit. What we did in the end to find out that it was actually the compressor going bad internally, and you can do that too. And it is a trick to keep in mind when you are unsure of what exactly is going on and you checked everything else and you're suspecting that the compressor might be going bad internally. There's two ways you can do this, but basically you're trying to block or not have airflow go across the condenser. What that does, usually what it should do is it should give you very high head pressure and your compressor should cut out on 1 second. I'm going here. So it will give you high head pressure and your compressor is supposed to turn off on high head pressure, like on the safety. What happened in our case? Basically, we couldn't, well, the system was running already. So instead of turning the system off and disconnecting the condenser fans, which is one thing that you can do, because then you won't get airflow across the condenser, we just took some cardboard boxes. We blocked off the condenser coil entirely. Our high side was not going up. So it was staying the same. it was maybe rising by 20 to 30 psi. So it was going up and then it was going down a little bit. It was going up and it was going down and it was going up a little more and going down and then a little bit higher. After a while, the compressor just cut off on thermal overload, and then we didn't have cooling off, of course. But what that told us is that the compressor is not pumping, because the job of the compressor is to compress, to make tighter the particles, the vapor particles of the refrigerant, compress them, which increases the heat, and that allows you to remove the heat in the condenser. But if your pressure is not rising, it tells you that your compressor is not doing its job. It's not compressing, it's not increasing the temperature, it's not increasing the pressure of the refrigerant. And that is very important because if you're troubleshooting and you're trying to find out, like, everything seems to be working, but you're not getting the heat removal, you know that your charge is good, or you tried adding charge and it's not really doing anything. And by the way, you should never add charge unless you know that it's low. So always check your superheat or subcooling to make sure that you don't overcharge the system. But let's say you did everything else and you're still wondering, why am I not removing heat? It might be that your compressor is failing internally. One way to check that is turn off the power, disconnect your condenser fans, turn power back on, see what the compressor does. Obviously, have your gauges on there, check the pressure. And normally, what would happen is your pressure would just rise, 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 and then it would cut out on high head pressure. If your compressor is bad internally, meaning there's some seal that's broken or something, your compressor will bypass internally and the pressure will go up, but then it might just bypass and it will go down, and then it might go up and down, and it will just stay in this range. It will not go all the way up and cut out on high head pressure. And even though you might be getting good amps draw, you might be getting good resistance, you might ohm out your compressor and it's all good. Electrically, everything seems good. You know you have the right charge, but you're somehow not getting the heat transfer, the heat removal. Then that's one trick, one tip that I can give to you where you can test the compressor. So I was recently reminded of that and I wanted to share it because it's a very valuable tip to check compressors internally, because you cannot really cut them open and check. So anyways, that's one thing I wanted to share today.
That's great. I like it. That's cool.
Yes. I hope that made sense.
Makes sense. Yes.
Good. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I had fun. We'll post a replay and then I'll see you in the community.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, bye.